Receiving a driver's license is one of the most exciting rides for the teenage passage for the teenage life. Getting a driver's license is not only the social asset, but it makes the adolescent feel more independent than ever before. Parents no longer have to drive. Most teens count days until they can get their driver's license at age 16, and then take their driver's test to demonstrate their driving ability. As a parent, I have concern and fear for the teen safety on the road. Allowing a child to be behind the wheels of the car can be a potential nerve-wracking experience for any parents, and for good reason. The motor vehicle crash is the leading cause of deaths of U.S. teens. According to the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration, there was 4,283 young drivers 15 to 20 years old who was involved in a fatal crash in 2012. There was 211.8 million licensed drivers in the United States in 2012, and the young driver accounting for 5.7% of totals. Of all the drivers involved in the fatal crash, 9% were the young drivers, and all the drivers involved in the police report crashes, 13% was the young drivers. Evidence also showed the young driver had great risk. According to the Insurance Institute of Highway Safety, teenagers the highest percentage involving the driving error, highest percentage of crashing involving speeding, and the highest percentage of single vehicle crash. Moreover, according to the Center for Disease Control Prevention, teen drivers are 16 to 19 are 3 times more likely than drivers aged 20 or older to be in a fatal crash. Now we have to see the extreme problem. We can see for the causes. One of the causes is inexperience. New drivers that just doesn't have enough time to develop driving skills. However, inexperience is far from only the cause of the problem. After all, there's always been an experienced drivers, even though their driving age increased to 18 or older. Second cause is reviewed by brain research. The new research, first released by the National Institute of Mental Health, suggests that emotional immaturity is a primary reason that teenage drivers are responsible for more car accidents than any other age demographic. The most important aspect of brain development for drivers is spread on the white matters. The process will help brain cells communicate more efficiently. The first and second stage of brain development, which occurs before the people become adult, overproduce the brain cells, but lack of adequate mechanism to process them. When adults reach age 20, white matters begin to spread from the back of the brain pores, usually completing process between 25 and 30 years old. The section of the brain most responsible for driving skill is the frontal lobe, which manages the body motor skills, emotional maturity, and aversion to taking a risk. The rest of the white matter here explain why teenagers are much more likely to speed, disobey traffic signs, and lose control of the vehicles. The third cause of motor vehicles fatality among teenage drivers is night driving. According to the CDC, night driving is unsafe for everybody. According to CDC, nighttime fatal crash rate for 16 years old are nearly twice as high as daytime rate. But of course, the daytime driving is unsafe for everybody, but it became particularly dangerous when they combine the young driver inexperience and reduce the ability to engage the risk. Finally, there's a presence of teenage drivers in a car. We all know that what it's like to be driving with friends. The problem is the factor of, listening music and allow everybody talking and laughing and having a good time. We know all like to be driving with friends. The problem is the factor created distractions. According to the Alan Williams of Insurance Institute of Highway Safety report that presence of one passenger almost double the fatal crash risk compared to driving alone. With 2 or more passengers, the fatal crash risk is 5 times as high as driving alone. To reduce the high risk high crash risk of teenage drive, California implemented a graduate driver's license program in 1998. Programs grant privilege to new drivers to face reduce the rate of teen drivers' fatal crash. According to the study found at the National Institute of Health, program reduced the rate of fatal crash among 16 to 17 years old by 8 to 14%. Graduate license program generally require new drivers to complete the 3 phases before they receive the license. However, one of the study, an analysis of 15 to 17 years old drivers killed in a crash between 1999 to 2008 concludes the effect of this law did not appear to uniform across the ratio of FBC. Law did not appear to reduce the fatal among Hispanic teen drivers. Rebecca Clark, PhD, Chief of the Demographic Behavior Science Branch of NIH National Institute of Child Health and the Human Development said that I hope the graduate driver's license will help to protect new drivers, but it was not necessary. It was necessary to worry the way that the new law did not indeed their desired effect. In conclusion, I like to raise the driving age to 18, just like other privilege of considered adult. No one can receive a learner's permit until age 18, and no one can receive a full driving privilege until age 21. Increasing the driver's age to 18 or older will definitely decrease the accident in the road. I know this sounds maybe harsh and perhaps inconvenience, but the evidence is clear that it will save a significant member of the teenagers' life. Thank you.
All right, Kuniko, I think you get credibility speaking as a parent and talking about the subject with the great deal of statistical depth in the early parts of the speech, and there's consistent citation of where information comes from. The thing that is problematic about the speech is that it's not very clear what your proposition is or what the secondary claims are. At the end of the speech, you're making a policy claim. The real claim is also contained there at the end of the speech, and your claim is that increasing the driving age would, in fact, reduce the number of accidents that occur among younger drivers. That's the inference that you're really making, and that ought to be front and center as your proposition. It was not very clear that that's where you were going. I knew what the subject area was, but I didn't know what inference you wanted us to draw at the beginning of the speech. There's not really a preview of what the secondary points are at the beginning of the speech. We dive immediately into an explanation about what the source of these problems are. What is interesting to me is not just that there's a lot of information on this. I think that there is plenty of information on this. I don't think there's much dispute that there are a lot of accidents and that a lot of those accidents are caused by young drivers. I don't think there's any dispute about that. The dispute is about whether or not the drivers are adequately prepared or whether or not it's their immaturity that is causing this rather than just their lack of training. And to me, you spent a lot of time on the brain maturity issue without discussing the training issue at all, which would be the primary issue that I would think that the respondent is going to be talking about, which is never going to be addressed by increasing age because you're always going to have inexperienced drivers no matter when they start driving. So the question then becomes, is it really the brain maturity that makes the biggest difference? You give us 2 or 3 other explanations on this. Night driving, which you admit is dangerous for everybody. Distracted driving, primarily because of the presence of other people. There might be an argument there that says that the socialization process among younger drivers makes this a unique kind of distraction. But that, I think, needs to be developed a little bit more so that we could see why increasing the driving age would eliminate that. The idea is that if you don't start driving until you're 18, that means you're out of high school, you're not hanging out with a bunch of your friends, you're not going to parties and doing all that kind of stuff. I would suspect that there's probably going to be some argument about whether or not that is the case. Now, like I said, you cited your evidence pretty consistently. A presentation, you need to slow down a little bit, especially at the beginning. Your articulation and pronunciation is just a little bit different. I think when we can hear you, which you need to project a little bit more, and when you slow down, it's very easy to follow what you're saying, but sometimes you are in a rush trying to get into the next thing, and it was not, frankly, I had a little bit of difficulty from time to time making out what you were saying. Usually I could figure it out by the time you got to the third or fourth sentence. I go, oh, I'm kind of having to go back and kind of reprocess the information. I think pacing would solve a lot of that problem. All right, thank you.